Alright, today we're looking at our Tournament of Elements results, and the first thing I will show is the overall winner was the 1x1 plate with double bars, and this was determined over the course of about 2 weeks on our Instagram polls. So first had this idea in mid-November and just started putting material together to run this. We actually opened up a tournament or a kind of this prize system where people could submit a filled-in bracket. What they were trying to predict is this result bracket here, and then based on those predictions, whoever had the most correct could win our prize, which was the actual Lego set named Tournament of Elements. It's a Ninjago set, so kind of a fun Easter egg there. And then that was at the start of December. We opened up our polls and we actually determined the results of the voting. So what we started with were these two outside columns, and these are the I think, what was it? Did I choose 64 different elements for? Yeah, I think total of 64 elements that were introduced this year, and then each round kind of reduced that pool and cut it in half. So there was a single elimination all the way down to the final vote. I think it was 5 rounds worth of voting, and that was determined on the last poll that was out yesterday, the 15th. So here is the result bracket, like I said, and all that's left to do now is go back and look at our entries and see who had the most correct guesses based on the poll results. Oh, a couple other things I'll say. We had consistently 10 to 12 voters on each round, and so that was good. There was some participation there. Definitely would have liked to see more people get involved in this. It's a pretty narrow scope of voters to determine. We can't really get a good idea of the overall popularity based on 12 votes, but it was also interesting to see which ones were definitely, there was definitely more popular elements, and then some were actually split almost half and half every time. So that was interesting to go through and see those results day by day. And those are all archived on our Instagram. So I also have an Excel bracket with the actual number of votes, but today we're just looking at the overall result without the number. But yeah, that was good to get consistent votes throughout the whole tournament. Would have liked to see a few more people jump in, but I think a lot of that comes down to getting the word out about this. Was going to have some help from Brickset, but that ended up not working out, so it was kind of just through our channel, and I didn't do a lot of publication to get this in front of a lot of people. Just put out a couple videos is all, so that's okay. It was kind of a fun thing to do here in the first half of the month, and now that we've got these results in, I wanted to go through and look at the submissions we did get, which was a total of 6 prediction brackets. So I think that's few enough to go through here and just kind of compare each bracket case by case. One of our runner-ups was Crimson 30, who submitted this bracket on the right. Crimson 30 had a total of 25 correct guesses, and the other thing that I was counting as I went through these was the streak. So if you got a bunch of correct guesses in a row leading up to the final, that would be a streak. And so Crimson 30 had the highest streak of 2, which was just making 2 correct guesses in a row. So like down here would be one. There's actually several places where there was a streak of 2 correct guesses. So runner-up here, Crimson 30, 25 correct. A perfect bracket would have 64 correct guesses. But the interesting thing about this is if you make an incorrect prediction in the first round, that's going to hamper you all the way through the rest of the rounds. So it's not actually 50-50 guess would normally be, half of 64 is 32. So if you're just guessing, half the time you'll be right. In this case, doesn't necessarily work out that way because of the way the bracket kind of stacks going forward. So 25 isn't a bad score at all for predictions on this bracket. Our other runner-up was Josh from here on our channel, younger brother. Josh had 26 correct guesses, and his longest streak was 3. And I think that was right here in the top left corner. Actually predicted the winning piece making its way up through the first division here, up in the top. But then Josh was thinking that this 3x3 cylinder was going to beat that one out. Overall, Josh was thinking the tire would win. In reality, the tire did not make it too far past the first round, unfortunately. So sorry, Josh, but good show with 26 correct guesses here. We do have a tie for our second place predictors, and this bracket was submitted by Annika and Jessica, who have been on the channel here every once in a while. So I think Jessica was responsible for the left side, and then Annika came and guessed the right side, and then together they kind of put this prediction bracket together to enter the tournament. And both of them working together were able to make 31 correct predictions, and they ended up with a 4 streak of correct guesses. So where was that streak? I think it was down here on these wedge plates, and they were thinking the wedge plates had a pretty good show and could possibly win the whole thing. So they had those going up throughout the second division, but unfortunately they were eventually defeated in the last round by the 1x1 with double bars. So Annika and Jessica there with 31 correct guesses, and this was a tie for the second number of correct guesses. We had this submission from Joris Stock, a frequent commenter on our channel, and Joris put in the element numbers. That's okay. It's the same thing as pictures. It's just harder to tell what those guesses are moving forward. But Joris also had 31 correct and also had a long streak of 4 correct guesses. So Joris, good work here with your predictions. You tied with Annika and Jessica for second. Now, as your channel host and presenter today, I'm not sure how I feel about presenting my predictions as the winner, but I ended up with 35 correct guesses and a long streak of 5. So the long streak was down here with the 1x1 axle brick, and I had that one slotted to win. I didn't quite get all the way up there, but was able to get this one pretty close to the final vote in my initial guesses. The rest of the bracket, just 4 more that were correctly placed compared to the previous 2 entries, which is enough to give me 35 total correct ones. I just got to say, I thought we would see more people send in the prediction brackets. It's not too hard to just go through here and make a guess about which ones are going to be popular, but total of 6 at the end of the day, that's okay. I had fun with it. Hopefully the people that were on Instagram voting had a little bit of fun, just looking at that every couple days and seeing that progress through. I'm not sure if the whole idea of the bracket was just a little bit too complicated, so there's kind of this additional mechanism, and maybe that's what was turning people away from participating. And I can see that it's kind of, if you're just used to doing polls and then all of a sudden this whole bracket system comes out of nowhere, that is kind of a big jump. So maybe what this could be would kind of be a template for how we could go forward next year and maybe get a few more people on board. So maybe I could just leave this up on the channel as kind of the example and how this went, just for people who would be interested. Maybe weren't completely on board with it this year, but wanted to see how it worked, and then as next year wraps up, we could take a look back at our 2022 elements and maybe do something similar down the road with that. In any case, thanks for watching, and if you were sending us a bracket or voting on Instagram. Thanks for that participation there. I would say we did have somewhat of a success, even if it wasn't that popular. The mechanism kind of worked how I thought it would, and we were able to get through the system. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time on Brick System Brothers.